Hi, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor. And on my last video of Color My World baby quilt, I told you I was going to stitch in the ditch on the block and do crosshatch on the sashing, and my plans have changed. I wanted something to show on the block a little more. You stitch in the ditch and you can't see it. So, since I was doing the crosshatch, I thought, well, let's do an X across each little block. But I'm going to put the camera down and show you what I come up with. I think it's going to work great, and I'm going to use a real light gray, I think, for my quilting. I always use an off-white. But for some reason, I think an off gray would be better on this teal. And since it's, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use a real light gray, number 40 quilting thread. And we will, after I show you how to mark the block, we will come back and I'll get my sewing machine set up and we'll do one of the blocks and one of the sashings, because remember, these are for beginners and not everybody knows how to, well, they wouldn't know how to stitch in the ditch unless you showed them. So you know, that's the way we learn, is to look at something over and over. So now I'm going to put the camera down and I want you to look at what's taken place. Since I was going to do the crosshatch, I thought, okay, let's just do X's in the block, in the individual squares. So at first, I started on this one. I marked every little square separately. And that way you do get corner to corner better. But after I'd done all of this, it dawned on me on this other block, hey, use your noggin, girl. So I went like, I started in this corner and I drew my line from corner to corner. Okay? Then I go down to the next block, we'll call it the second block as we're going this way, to the second block, going this way. And I drew my line. Go down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Draw, and this way, see, you're covering all this area. You're not just doing one little box at a time. This one, we'll call it our fourth block over to our fourth block. And we go there to there. Now this works out that it takes care of these little strips. You don't have to do anything individual with them. I was going like this and like this, but this takes care of it. Okay, now go on down to this second block over to here, or second row. We're going to call it the second block going down. And you go to 1, 2, 3, 4. We already got this done, so we go down to number 5, to the corner. Draw your line. One more time would be from the third down to the bottom. Draw your line. If your line does not go perfectly corner to corner, which it's not going to. Now, if you're perfect with your blocks, with your little squares, it will. But if you make a mistake once in a while, like I have, it's not. Don't worry about it. Then go to 1, 2, 3, the fourth one, and go down to this row. It'll be your second block from here. And go, draw your line, go down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the third block, going this way, and then one more line from here to here on the last block. And there, I guess you can call that cross-hatching too, this is. But there you go, and like I say, it takes care of this little 4-inch strip. It takes care of this 6-inch. It looks great. So that is our block, and it's no time. Now this, you know, is a pin that I recommend all the time, and when you touch this with a warm iron, it's gone. Even after you've sewed over it, it'll come off fantastic. Comes in red, black, blue, and purple, I believe. I don't, as soon as I get my block done, I take it off. I don't like leaving it on for 2 or 3 days and then trying to iron it. I mean, I've done that and it's worked fine. But if you can, take it off as soon as you can. Now my crosshatch, I just took that straight line that went across my blocks and continued it. I drew that line, I went up to the next one, I drew that one, and so forth, all the way across. And then I picked my ruler up and went this way across. My line, straight line across that way. And if you want an additional guide, I mean, you shouldn't have any problems going across from here to there, but if you want an additional guide, these are 1.5 inches apart, these rows. So there, 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 and last one is right there. Now, they match right here perfectly, but they're not going to match over here. See how this line and this line go right to the middle. That's okay with me. If you want to figure out how to do it differently and make sure that this matches, go for it. But I want my cross-hatching to look a little different, or, you know, not to look like I just went straight across into the next block. You can do that. You could, well, I don't want to do that. So anyway, that's my crosshatch. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows going across that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows going across the other way. And over here, you can't see it, but I did the same thing. I just took my straight line right here and went straight through. Followed the path of the straight lines, and then went back and did that 1.5 inches apart. Followed those straight lines. See how your lines? You're just following your lines. It makes it so simple. And see, when we sew it, we can start up here, go down, and go, how are we going to sew it? I've got to figure that out. We can just go down, and you could stitch in the ditch across here, but I'm going to waste a little bit of thread, and just go from here to here. And you'll see what I mean. I'm going to pull my thread up and jump over to here, because I want my crosshatch to be the same on the back side. I don't want the stitch in the ditch all the way across here. That can be done, but it'll be different, and I don't want it to be different. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start here, go over, and go up all the way through the sashing, and that way I do the sashing and the block all together. Because once you get this under the sewing machine and it gets all wadded up in there, you'll want to do as much as possible without having to turn. And that's how I think I'm going to do it. And then when I want to continue, I'll go through this sashing to this block and go across. And over and back up and down and back. That's what how I'm gonna do that. And if you, these aren't right on this side. Right, see, they don't match, so I can't do that. I need to start on this side and go all the way down to here, all the way down to here, to here, to here, here, and here, here, here. That's what I need to do. I need to do from here to here, and I'll get all of this done in one. Then I can do this block individually and this block individually. That's the correct way that I can do it, to save myself from having to turn and get everything messed up. And always remember when you're doing this to keep tugging, kind of tug at your backing. It gets wrinkles in it, and to keep it just perfectly smooth under the machine, just keep going like that, and make sure that you don't have any wrinkles, and pull your backing across. And as you can see, I've only got one pin there. I didn't want to have to worry about pins, and I think it's okay. I've only got one pin up there, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So I hope I explained that good to you. And remember, this is just straight line stitching, and it's for people that can't machine quilt with a open toe foot. I can't do it. I've told y'all that many times. I know I need to quit saying I can't do it and learn, but so far I haven't conquered it. But you can do so much with just straight line quilting. It'll look fantastic. So I hope I covered it all, and I hope you've got it. Now I'm going to set up the machine, and okay, let's get started. I am at the top of the sashing, and I'm going to put my needle down and pull my thread up. Lift up pull my thread up. And put it back down. And I'm going to go forward a couple of stitches and back. And now I'm ready to go. And you would think it's quite easy to stay on a red line, but you have to really concentrate. And I've told you before, I'm going to put my needle down and keep this all smoothed out at all times. Let's see how my stitch looks. Yes, that's a pretty quilting stitch. I have it on number 3. I raised it from 2.5 to a 3. Didn't change any other settings, just did that. Now I have this rolled up out of my way over here on this side. Keeping that out of my way. Keeping this smooth as possible. Invariably, you're going to have a wrinkle or two once in a while. Don't sweat over it. As I tell you all the time, you don't have to be perfect. Now when I get to the end here, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. And go very slow right here at the end so you can not get up on the sashing. And I think that's as close as I can get it. I'm going to do 1 stitch backwards and then 1 stitch forward. Now, I've got to go the other way, so we're going to have to pivot. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. You can stitch in the ditch right here to go to your next seam and across. But I'm not going to, because I want to mimic this side exactly on the other side. And I don't want these seams. They won't show on top here because you'll do them in the ditch, but they will on the back. And my pattern won't be the same on the back. So I'm just going to lift my needle, pull it over, turn my fabric around, and start on that line right there. And before I do, I like to pull it out, even give it a little slack. That just helps you to not have accidents or not have problems. Now, get it all smoothed out again, and we're on our next line that goes all the way down. You have to help move your thread, your fabric along. I like to just hold it on both sides. Be sure this is all smooth. And if your line isn't perfectly straight, please don't worry about it. Now you slow down as you get to the edge, 1 back and then forward. Then we're going to pivot, and I like to just keep going back the same way I came. Now pull your needle up And we started in the middle block of the quilt. You always start in the middle, and that way you can work your fabric out, and you just don't want to start on the sides and go one way or another. Or you don't want to start at the top either. Okay, let's pull this out just a little, give it a little slack. That's so when we take off, it's not strained here and doesn't wad up. Okay, we're ready to go on our next line. Now I'm only going to do one or two more. This line, we'll just do this one, and then I'll show you up close. And, oh, I really got off on my red line. So visually, just line it up with your edge. And remember, if you're not straight on the edge of those blocks, please don't worry about it. Nobody is going to get a tape measure and measure them. I guarantee you they won't. Okay. All right, let's stop right here and let me show you. I'm gonna cut my threads and everything. You wouldn't ordinarily do that. You keep going and sew as much as you possibly can before you cut your threads. You don't want to be doing that. And I have 2 bobbins loaded and ready so that I don't have to stop and do that either. Okay, here's our 3. 1, 2, and 3. We have 3 rows sewn. And I love the way they're pretty big stitches. I love that this is 30 weight thread and I have it on number 3. I love those bigger stitches. Now this right here got a little messed up, but here they're just right. See how uniform? My machine did well on that one. Then when you get through with everything, you just go back, pull this back, and nip your threads, okay? That's why you go back and forth once or twice, because you're cutting a thread and you don't want that thread to come out. So that's why you go back and forth a couple of times. You're locking your threads. See, I didn't lock my thread right there just real good. So that's a lesson to be learned. That's why when you come to an edge, go back and forth a couple of times. And we'll just continue to do all that. And my next procession would be, is I would turn it around and I would start on this row right here. Would be my next row. See, this row is already done. These 3 rows are done. And I would go all the way down the block and do each and every row. And then you turn it around and start over here. After you've got all of them going that way, then you're going to go up here and you're going to start on this row, and you're going to go either way. It doesn't matter. You can go to the right or to the left and do all of your diagonal lines in the opposite direction. And we're starting on, because it works out, we're starting on our sashing and going through the block with these stitches all the way through to the block. And that's the way that you do machine quilting, straight line quilting. You don't have to be fancy. I know it's beautiful and I wished I could do it, but there's ways to do it and make it just quite efficient. And for beginners, I think this is just the way you should learn to quilt, is machine quilting with just straight lines. And you can do many, many things with straight lines. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one particular block and sashing, and when I get through, I'll show you what it looks like. And we'll go from there. Okay, we've got it all done. And when you quilt, you want sometimes about 2 inches in between your lines, or 1.5. So that is good quilting. It's going to keep the 3 pieces together just great. Now you just trim all your threads. And I used to tie them, but that's not necessary when you go back once and twice, because it leaves a knot on the surface, and so that's not the proper thing to do. That's why I started going back and forth a couple of times, because you can get these little threads off, and you can't even tell where you stopped or started. You need little bitty scissors like this to do it. And next, you will do this block by itself. Don't do the sashing on the long pieces until you get all this whole row done, all of this one. So you're going to do this block next and this block next. But this way, we got this block and both sashings in one swift little move. And I want to show you when I put the iron to it, you might not can see the red lines anymore, but believe me, they're there. So I want to show you, when you touch your iron, I think my iron is hot enough. You can use steam or you can use just a hot iron. Doesn't matter. And there you have it. I don't see a red mark on it anywhere. Isn't that fantastic? Now be sure, see if you already have this block marked like I did, I just took it off, so you got to redo it again. But so try not to do that. Get on your next row that you've already marked. So now we have to I have to redo that. So there it is. Now you know how to do a crosshatch and how to do, this is a crosshatch too, I guess you could say. It is. And now you know how to quilt. So I'm going to finish this, the whole thing, before I'll do another video when I do it. I'm not going to do one, I don't think, putting the binding on, because remember, the binding is done on the yellow brick road. tutorial that I did. And you just can't beat it. It's a good video, and I don't really need to repeat it. So after I get all the rest of this quilting done, well, we'll put on our binding and put on a label. Remember, that's important. So I hope you've learned and now you're not intimidated. And I hope you will, you know, I met a lady at Joann's today, very lovely lady, and she told me she had a quilt that she started, but she never finished. And I told her, she said she had started it in a class, and I told her that I thought it was just so much easier to look at videos because classes are intimidating sometimes. And sometimes a video, you can run it back and forth 10 times if you want to, and nobody's there to criticize. So I hope she'll finish her quilt. It would mean a lot to me to know that I helped somebody finish their quilt. So again, thanks for watching, and if you like this tutorial, please push the like button, and down at the bottom there's a place that you can subscribe to my channel and you'll never miss a video.